Be yourself.
This podcast.
Well, it ain't. And error occurred on Facebook. This is actually temporary. Wait a minute, then try again.
Oh,
What I'm talking about?
I think I'm gonna make me some white chicken chili.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's
That
gonna be
does
good.
sound good.
Look, I'm like, what time is
Y'all
it?
always be talking about what y'all cooking and stuff.
Listen,
I
Yeah,
don't
'cause
never join in on that conversation.
uh-uh.
I be hungry, especially on Sunday. You gotta have something good.
Why you
Shondale,
not
let me
letting me?
tell you, honey, I had to wait till they was all grown for them to
Uh-uh.
tell me that I couldn't cook.
She can't cook.
See. Listen, I'm just now starting to cook. So my 2 meals that I make is spaghetti and chili. That's it. Don't ask
Well,
me
I
what
wasn't never interested in cooking, honey.
Yeah, me either. It was a waste of time for me. Like I got to get to the grind.
We
Okay.
gonna get to it. I don't know why it's not letting me do it on my regular Facebook page, but it's gonna be on the Hood Talk
Good
page
talk.
and the
That's
in the
cool.
YouTube page. Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm salty because that's where
Yeah.
all the people is at. But I will
Oh,
just
but you
share.
know what? They chat on YouTube too, but most of the comments do be on.
My regular page.
Oh,
I
wait
don't
a
know why
minute. It was coming up, look.
on my regular one.
Let me see. Let
Wait
me
a
see
minute.
it.
On
I
the
don't know
Hood
what today
Talk.
is. It's on the Hood Talk page.
On the Hood Talk page.
Well, we can hear you.
You got to get off that,
It's
Lynn.
Well, I'm
echoing.
coming off. But I just wanted to let y'all know it was.
That's all right though. We about to get straight into it, man. I know y'all know the wellness lady right here that's sitting with us. She a guest. We done had a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm so sorry, but we definitely about to dive deep into this. So let's say what's up to Shondale.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing on this lovely day after 420?
Woo, baby, I'm recovering. I'm recovering, but I am doing amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was definitely a dope event. Shout out to your event last night down at 937. That was really, really fun. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate y'all coming through. Real talk. That was all love. And I appreciate the A team and 937 really rocking with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So
I
we gonna
wish I
get
could have been there, but
Listen,
I was
we got
getting
something
all
coming
this
up.
done.
We got something coming up
You was
again.
getting your Beyonce
I
on.
was getting my Beyonce on. All I need is my cowboy hat now.
Listen,
you can't wait. This ain't Texas. But we are definitely about to get into this interview about you because this has definitely been a topic that we've wanted to talk about and have been waiting for someone to actually want to talk about it. We asked a few folks, but they didn't want to dive deep into it. You know, sometimes
got
it's it's easier for some and harder for others.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're definitely gonna learn about you today.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold back. You can
Got
cuss whatever you want to do. If you want to fight the wall, you can do whatever you want to do.
Hey, listen, it be like that for real. So yeah.
Okay. So we want to start off from where you're from and if you could tell us something about your upbringing.
Alrighty, so I was born here in Dayton, Ohio, the great Gem City.
Woo-woo.
I had five. It's five of us. My mother had 5 kids. So I'm the second to the youngest, and I came into this world during the time I was born in '77. So that crack era hit like right in the '80s, but it was already. I tell people, even though crack hit in the '80s, my mother was already pretty much strung out in the '70s on whatever was out here. So she already had, my older siblings going into the foster care system, and so it was a rough time during that season. But here I am.
Right. Making it
Yeah.
smiling every day. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
Right, right. You definitely wear a beautiful smile. So, how old were you when you actually went into foster care?
I was one when I went into the foster care system. Right before my second birthday. And like I said, my older siblings were already in and out of care, but when I was born, they was around, they were present, and then all 4 of us went into a foster care right before I turned 2.
So, you guys were separated, or did you get to go with any of your older siblings?
I went into foster care. I was actually separated from my oldest brother because he was, trafficking me at the time. And again, that was it was a lot going on in my mother's home with the addiction and the traffic and things of that nature. So they actually separated me from my oldest brother at that time, and I went into a home by myself.
He was trafficking you at 1 years old.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what you mean by trafficking? You like,
Selling me to neighborhood boys.
Oh my God.
Not at one.
Yeah,
whoa,
Wow.
it was him and my uncles that was doing it.
Wow, that's horrible.
I'm
Mm,
so
That's horrible.
sorry.
I'm glad you are here to tell us this story. And I'm
yeah.
glad
Yeah,
you're brave enough to tell it because,
Absolutely.
I'm sure this is happening. I'm sure this is happening to a lot of people. And
Yeah.
so, really, really thank you. Now, once you went into the foster homes, did
Mhm.
you experience further abuse or neglect, or was this an escape for you or
You know,
another
I tell people,
torture chamber?
I tell people all the time, like living with my mother, her drug addiction was it was a product of the environment, with us as African American. And it was like she had a good heart, but even though I was going through hell in my mother's house, when I went into foster care, they drugged me farther deeper into hell. You know what I mean?
oh,
Yeah, so I went through a lot of the sexual abuse in foster care. I went through shit in foster care that, boy, like I was like, take me back to my mother's house. I suffer it out. I
Oh,
thug it
wow.
out. So, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
so could you
that,
elaborate on some of the stuff that you did go through in
yeah.
foster care?
One of the things
Only if
was,
you feel
Yeah,
comfortable.
yeah, only if you
oh,
feel comfortable.
I tell people I'm an open book because, I know that my story has helped so many other girls coming through my agency, but also as people all around the world that just don't know that you can make it out of that. So I don't mind sharing, but I went so like I said, one of the things was we was back and forth into my mother's home. Whenever my mother would get clean, and then we would be able to go back and they called it reunification in foster care.
Mhm.
So that's why I was in 21 different foster homes. You know what I mean? It was my mother would get clean after a few months. She would get her kids back. She would call children's services, or somebody else would call, and they would come and get us. So like one of the homes I was in, I was molested from the age of like 5 until about 8, from my foster father. He was high on the chain of ministry, so we was always in church. 5, 6, 7 days a week we was in church. I was raped in the basement of the church often. And so,
Mhm.
it was not until I was about 8 years old. I remember my biological mother asking me, we went for a visitation one day, and I had changed as a kid because I was always very much, even though I was going through hell, I was one of those kids that loved outside. I loved basketball. I loved, what I mean? I was just a vibrant kid. So I thank
Mhm.
God because that innate ability to survive was in me, and I just love people, you know what I mean? But I
Mhm.
remember my mother noticing something about me when I was about 8 years old. We was at visitation, and she ended up asking me about what was going on with me, and I was having a lot of pain in my vagina area at that age. I was having a lot of pain, a lot of issues, and so my mother said something to my caseworker about it. And I'll never forget. We were sitting there in the office, and my mother was like, "I want my kids out of this house," and so they took me to the hospital that day because I was, like I said, I was having a whole lot of issues. They took me to the hospital that day, seeing that I had, the caseworker and them was trying to put it on like my past abuse from like things that had happened when I was in my home. And my mother was like, no, that's not it. And so they covered it up. My caseworker and them got mad at me, told me I was lying. I had made it up. They moved me into the worst foster home you could have possibly moved me in. It was like it was somewhere far out. I wasn't able to see none of my siblings at the time.
Mhm.
And it was these two white people, man. I'm talking about when I say it was the nastiest foster home. I was, locked in my room. I went through hell after that situation of telling what happened to me.
Wow. So do you think
So,
that was a setup? Because it's like, why would they do that? Trying to cover up for somebody, and then like that was a disciplinary act. Like now I'm about to send you out here and be
Right.
abused even more. Like that's
Yeah.
dirty. Because
Yeah.
don't
I
they
learned I
gotta?
learned to shut up after that. I ain't gonna lie. I learned how to keep my mouth shut for real. Cause I
but
mean,
Yeah.
that's horrible. You shouldn't
Right.
have
You
to
shouldn't have to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'm curious about, because you said that, they kept giving you back to your mom,
Yeah.
but then she would lose you again. How long did she have to prove that she was a fit parent before they would give you back to her? Because
Mhm.
it seems kind of like, well, she knew what to do at just only at the right time,
Cover it
and
up. Right.
get my kids
Right.
back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 6 months sometimes, a year sometimes, like the one foster home we was in, it was like a 3-year period. She got us back, had us for about a year or so, and then we went back into a foster home. So again, it was like this juggling act. It was like a constant rotation.
A
It was
lot of
constant.
back and forth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't know
I
they
am
could do
so
that.
sorry that you've had to endure that. Lord Jesus. I couldn't
Yeah.
be a counselor.
Yeah, and
Listen.
to see
I'm
you
about
walk
ready to
around with a
cry.
smile, that's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? To still be able to smile and make it through the
Yeah.
days, and
Yeah.
because that's from 1 years old. That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
crazy. And I
I
can't imagine the harm it did to your body at such a young age
Right.
as well. You know what I mean? Like, did you contract like diseases, or did you suffer from pregnancies and
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that was one of the ththings when I went to the hospital. I actually had an STD. That's how they knew that it was really, happening. But I did.
Mm.
I mean, I went through a lot. Physically, emotionally, like it took me a while to really, like, even though I would be with men, it really took me a while to really even understand the value of my own body for real. Like, I always felt like my body didn't belong to me. Like, I was just like, people was allowed to do whatever they wanted to do with it. And so,
Mm.
it took a lot of years to be able to have the strength to be like, this is my body, and it matters to me now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So
So
you've had to have therapy, a
a
lot
lot
of
of
therapy.
a lot
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
and, even
And
with
we need to be more accepting of therapy in our community, don't you think?
I
Because yeah.
I do. And that's one of the things about trauma, is that trauma can hide itself so well.
Yeah,
Um,
it
a lot of
can.
people, I played basketball pretty much all the while, from like the age of like 6 up through high school. I got pregnant when I was 17. I was teen mom in foster care. Um, but literally, people didn't know because I was able to escape. A lot of people that I was playing basketball with didn't know that I was in foster care. They didn't know I was being molested. They didn't know I was living in a homeless shelter with my mother, or in a bando. Like, I'm saying, they just didn't know, because once I got outside that door and I put a basketball in my hand, everything else didn't matter.
Right.
Mm. Thank God for the basketball. Thank
Yeah,
God for
thank
that.
God
Right.
for it.
Real.
Because I was
Thank God you had some kind of outlet.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I was just about to ask you, how do you conquer your past traumas? Like,
Uh,
because I know a lot of things can probably, hearing what you went through can definitely be triggering.
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways that I do, conquer it, is that I serve. And that's one of the things that God showed me very early on, was that, and that's one of the things about my mother. My mother's a giver. Even though, when her drug addiction, when we would be in a homeless shelter, she, like, if you got a granola bar, the kid next to you got half of it. You know what I mean? And so she taught me about service very early on, and that's one of the things I don't think that she realizes that her parenting really did for me, even within that toxic environment. She taught me really how to love people, and she taught me how to love God. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
Amen.
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Amen.
yeah, that's dope. I was just about to ask you too, like, what is your relationship like with your actual birth parents? Do you resent them, or y'all still, are y'all cool, or how does that work?
So with my father, there was a lot of and the reason why there was a lot of resentment with my father was, I used to watch my father ride by me on Tampa. Everybody knew that was my dad. Everybody used to talk about my dad, how he was a pro golf player. I would see my dad on, what I'm saying, like, when I, sometime I would be at, like, the community center or whatever. They have stuff on TV like golf. I would see my dad on there. You know what I mean? So my dad was in the service, but he was a professional golf player. And so when my dad got out the service and pretty much came back to Dayton or whatever, I would see my dad ride back by me on Tampa on his way to the golf course on Nicholas, and everybody be like, "There, your daddy," and I'm like,
And he
like,
didn't stop.
yeah, didn't
Didn't
stop,
didn't
yeah,
stop acknowledging.
Yeah. And I remember I asked my dad one day, you know what I mean, when I got older, because me and him, you know, we started trying to have a relationship when I was like after like 18, 20, my 20s. And I remember my dad asking me one day, he said, you know, you seem to forgive your mom, but you won't forgive me. And I said, because my mom never stopped trying. And you never even stepped up to the plate to try. Um,
Mm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
That's
you
a
your
difference.
mom went to hit you, your mom. I'm like, man, I've been in foster care since I was 1. So that's not even, so again, it was the excuses that he was giving me that I was like, at least, you know what I'm saying, for my mother, I knew she always tried. You know what I mean?
Right. I get that. I understand that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So
For
y'all have
sure.
a
I
relationship
understand.
now, you and your mother?
My mother and I have always, like, my mother is like my baby for real. Like, my mother's drug, you know what I mean? As soon as I got out there on my own at 18, I took my mom into my house, you know what I mean? And I've always taken care of my mom, you know what I mean? And she's had strokes. My mother was on a life support for like 8 months at one point. And they kept trying to pull the plug on her, and my aunt and them was like, absolutely not. Like, so I believe that my mother is really an angel, you know what I mean? But like my father, even though he didn't take care of me, before my father passed away with lung cancer, I moved him into my house. He stayed with me until he passed away. And I believe that that was, you know what I'm saying, that was God's way of being able to let me heal through that resentment and that pain with him even.
That's dope that you can
That
still
wasn't
do
nothing
that.
but God.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
God. That was
That,
God.
yeah,
The
nothing
fact
but
that you can
God.
still do that after you went through all of that, that's amazing. Let's
That's amazing.
yeah,
That's
give it up for
amazing.
Gabrielle.
For
You
sure.
know what? That was our sermon in church today.
Uh,
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Yeah. Yeah.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
yeah,
sure.
He forgives us all of our sins, and that's what we need to be, is forgiving for each other. But
and it's easy to do
I don't know.
yourself. Like, you can
I
see
be still a work in progress, honey. I
people
don't
are
know if I
human.
can forgive all that.
People are human.
People are human.
Nobody is perfect. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
Mm,
if we
But you
ask
dope for
if
that.
we ask for forgiveness, we definitely have to be open to giving it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
So is it true that at 18, no matter if you have anywhere to go or anything like that, they kick you out of foster care?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I could not believe that.
Yeah. You got to go. The
Yeah,
checks.
I couldn't believe it. And so if you don't go to those programs
Mm-hmm.
where they have stuff that they can set up to you, but I think they only start those programs with you in that last year or
Yep.
so.
Yep.
So you can get like in medical, try to find you some place to stay and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
that's so
That's
unfair.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's
what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, and that's one of the things like people don't realize is that you can't even put yourself on a housing application like a waiting list until you turn 18. You
right.
fill out nothing until you 18. So even with the system, they'll be like, okay, well you can go stay, you know what I mean, at the shelter or whatever until you can get your place. And it's like, well, you know, why am I being punished for just being a kid in this system? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
Right.
it's interesting. And then you don't have no connection with family for real. So it's like once you get out of foster care, you just out here trying to figure things out for yourself. You can't pick up the phone like,
Right.
Auntie, can you tell me how to pay this bill or how to do my
Right.
credit? Like you just out here figuring it out for yourself.
Right.
That's just
Ah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Now
That is
is
horrible.
now is that what made you start your camp? You got a camp for like 13-year-old kids, right?
I do. So I started my residential parenting facility first, the Mustard Seed Foundation. I
Mhm.
started that in 2007. One of the things that I was noticing, because when I had my daughter, my caseworker just pretty much came in the room like, hey, ain't no foster homes for y'all to go to, so we're going to separate. And I thank God every day for Constance Lucas, because she was the only one who was doing Teen Mom programming at the time. And that's when I got my voice back, was at 17, when I was like, I had to advocate for my daughter. Like, absolutely not. She's not going into no foster home without me. She's not going nowhere without me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
forward to 2000, I had her in 95, fast forward to 2007, I'm noticing that they're still separating teen moms and babies just for lack of housing choices. So I was like, well,
Really?
yeah, let me start something. Let me start my own organization. And I did. So we house teenage moms from the ages of 13 to 21.
Wow. That's
That
awesome.
is
Thank you. Yeah,
great.
shout out
That
to
is
you for that for sure.
awesome.
Now I
And
didn't
That's
think that they
amazing.
but I guess that does make sense that they would try and separate y'all. But
Yeah.
yeah,
that's so messed up.
That's horrible.
and
It's
that's the key.
horrible.
That
Babies.
remind me of slavery.
Yeah, it's the easiest babies to take, and people don't realize that. Like, I tell people too, foster care is the biggest human trafficking system in the nation.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm, mm,
yeah.
Mm.
mm,
Yeah, because these people
mm.
bring you into their homes, they
Yeah,
make you slave, they
yeah,
treat you like slaves, and
yeah,
all of a sudden,
yeah. Real talk.
they
That
all going to hell.
Yeah.
Now,
right.
out of because you said you was in 21 different foster cares, right?
Yes.
Now, out of all of them, was there any that were,
That
good,
were
like
kind
that
to
you
you
be
at
like,
all?
that
Were like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? By the time I hit about 13, I went into a home with like Shelby Leonard. And she was really good to my little sister and I. My little sister and I was able to be together in that home. And then like I said, Miss Constance Lucas, she was a big influence in my life. When I had my daughter, I was able to be in a house with other teenage moms. And that really changed my life for real. So it gave me an opportunity to be a mother like I wanted to be. And I showed, I just wanted to show the world that I could do it, that I wasn't my mother. And people like, oh, you're going to end up on crack just like your mama and things like that. And I just had, it put a chip on my shoulder. Like, hey, like, you don't tell me what I'm going to be. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
when you become a teen mom in foster care, are
mhm.
there parenting classes or anything that's available to you, or that they automatically just
Yeah.
hook you up with?
Yeah, and there's different programming in the community. That was one of the things that I was noticing too when I came out of foster care, was there was like these parenting classes, but the challenge is that, just like for me, if it's a young lady in the community that was doing parenting classes with me over at the St. E's building when I first got started, one of the things I was noticing was that they were so transit. So even the things that we were teaching them in the parenting classes and parenting groups, if they was going back into a toxic environment, when they come back that next week or two, now they screaming at little Billy, cussing him out, you know what I'm saying, calling him names. And it's like, wait a minute, you know what I mean?
Right.
We talked about this in the last group, that, how to gentle parenting work and how to make sure that you control your own emotions first before you start trying to discipline your kid. Things about communication. And we just was noticing that it wasn't sticking. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I hear you. We need a residential building. That way we could do parenting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We could put them in an environment that's conducive to them acting
Mm.
behaviors and being a more healthy parent. But yeah, there's different parenting classes out here. Hmm.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
tell us about the Wellness Wake Up TV show. What is it, and where can we watch that?
So the Wellness Wake Up, I actually started it more so because I just wanted to talk about things like me having lupus, me having serendipity. I wanted people to understand that it wasn't just about doing drugs, you know what I mean? Because I've been an advocate in this community for so long, just like with Cardio Kids Camp. We talk about that in my camp program, like don't do drugs, so on and so forth. So then all of a sudden, Miss Shondale jump out here and I'm like, let's smoke weed.
Right.
So
Right.
You
Want to
got
get
to make
high?
it make sense. Make it
Right.
make sense.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
Such a contradictive, you know what I'm saying? Thing. It was like I went
Yeah.
from one extreme to the next. And so the Wellness Wake Up was all about communicating to people why this is medicine. And even for when I started to really see kids ADHD and they giving these kids all these diagnoses and instantly putting them on medication. But I'm like, well, how about we try more alternative things like CBD? You know what I mean? Like really helping our kids understand how to process that behavior, how to communicate through it instead of just medicating them and putting them to sleep. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what the Wellness Wake Up was really created for, was to give people a platform to have these conversations about what wellness looks like, but then also the medicine and how to be healthy, make healthy choices around the medication. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's
And where can we
definitely dope.
watch the show? Where can we catch it?
Yeah. It's currently we running on YouTube. I'm off for this season right now because I'm working on my docu-series. So I kind of took a break for a minute with the Wellness Wake Up, get at a
Nice.
pause,
Okay.
New
get back,
series.
yeah, really get back to the to what the assignment was that God gave me to do. I had fun with the Wellness Wake Up, and God was like, chill out, do what I told you to do. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you said you
Well,
offer like therapy and stuff like that, right? At
we
your we can talk about your wellness shop that's
we do.
located in Oregon. Can you tell us about that?
So we're actually over on West Monument now. We moved from the Oregon district in
Okay.
December. We're over on West Monument right by Bar Granada. and they can come in, they can see our doctor to get their medical marijuana card. If they are on some type of opiate, or if they're having a drug or alcohol addiction, we we assign them a therapist. We refer them out to other therapy departments also, but we also work with them on the drug and alcohol addiction, and so they can come in and get counseling and get their medication at the same time.
Now, are you affiliated with Adamus?
I am not affiliated with Adamus. I am well, other than the licensure, because I actually in my residential facility, the Mustard Seed Foundation, I'm the only residential parenting facility in Ohio for that population, for teen moms and babies, and I've been the only residential parenting facility since I've become licensed and open. And then we also were licensed for mental health and drug and addiction counseling up under Adamus board. But outside,
okay, because they do have an app that person can go out and just look for facilities and businesses in our area, providers, and even if you're not under a contract with them or whatever, your business can show up in that app, and people can contact you if they need your services.
Yes. I'm the black in the community, y'all. I you know what I mean, for 16 years now, and I tell people, like, I'm the black sheep in the community, because I'm one of those ones that, I don't really play with the politics when it comes to kids and when it comes to people's lives. Like, you got to come straight out the gate or don't do it. You know what I mean? And so one of those ones that check people at the door, like, you did wrong. I don't care who your friends and affiliation is. When it comes to doing right by people, you're going to either stand on that, or me and you ain't going to have no affiliation. So,
I hear it.
Period. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. You for the kids.
Yeah.
Shout out to that, because the kids need it.
Man,
that's right.
I play around, like, the stuff.
We need somebody advocating for the kids, because it seems like we don't like kids and old people in our society.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and that's important that we really get back to the matter at hand when it comes to what God has called us to do. You know what I mean? Right.
Definitely. So would you have any words of motivation for someone who is or have been in foster care, or do you have any words of motivation for just in general?
One of the things I'll say is pit time matters. You know what I mean? Like, when Joseph was in the pit, it wasn't that he was in the pit for punishment, for real. It was when the people that, from his brothers, because they put him in the pit. But for God, it mattered that he was in the pit. You know what I mean? It was like God could take and spend with you. So I tell people, tap into your spiritual gift. Tap into that spiritual piece of you that God is, even in the pit, God can be able to drag you up out of it mentally. You could be in a place, but not in a place. So that's one of the things I tell my girls in foster care. You could be in a system and not in the system. You know what I mean? So, connect with your spiritual power and really, like, allow God to really use that time to really nurture and love on you, so that way you can love on other people. You ain't got to act out what you are. You know what I mean?
Right. I like that.
They think you are. Like, you're not that. You're not that. You don't have to even, you don't answer to those labels. You don't answer to what they call you. You're not answering to those names. Like, that ain't my name. My name is Shondale, but that's who I'm a be. So, don't act on those labels like, oh, I got ADHD, I can't sit still. Bullshit. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Power in the tongue.
Right.
Power in the tongue, man. That's what I be trying to tell people. Like, people talk about, like, anxiety. They claim anxiety so much. That's what makes you so anxious.
Yeah.
Stop speaking that stuff on yourself. You can speak a lot of stuff on yourself.
Yes.
Because that's where your mind goes. Your mind goes straight to that.
So that's why they start off with babies. You know what I'm saying? Where they instantly, when they hit kindergarten, they like, oh, little Billy can't sit still. Little Billy's aggressive. Samantha's hitting people. Samantha's got ADHD. She got anxiety. Right. So they start real young with conditioning our people, and I'm like, nah, don't let them condition your baby.
Yeah. Be quick to put them on the medicine.
Yeah.
And have them looking like zombies.
Come on.
That hurts my heart when I see a kid that just looks stuck. Parents just do it because I guess they feel like they don't know what to do, but just set them down and give them a whooping. Bring whoopings back. They'll slow down then. Please.
I tell my daughter that. I said, hey, man, you got ADHD? I want to see it show up. Let me see what you're going to do.
Right.
Like, I ain't got it, mama. Like,
yeah. See, you got to bring them old school whoopers back.
Honey, they worked on
None
me.
of that.
say that.
I hear about that back in the 60s, 50s. It just really now it's more you hear about like ADHD and like autism and
Yeah.
things of that
Yeah.
nature. It's
Yeah.
like back then you didn't really hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they want these kids to sit in front of these TVs, and be quiet. We
Yeah.
used to be outside in the yard playing, running, tag,
Having
and
fun.
all this
We
stuff.
Riding your
did.
bike, jump rope,
Expelling
all of that.
energy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
put us in the
crazy.
house. We was on punishment. Like, you couldn't keep us in the house. Like, that was
Right.
Right.
Right. Ready to cry. Like,
Now
oh,
they
The
don't.
lights
Now they
on.
don't want to
Like, if the
leave. They
street lights
want.
on, I ain't coming in the house. Them street lights,
Right.
okay, I'll be in there then. Like,
Right. Now you got to drag them out. They don't want to leave the house. They too
girl,
glued.
they don't know how to ride bikes. They
Mm.
don't know how to do a crisscross applesauce. They don't know how to do nothing.
Cartwheels. They can't jump no rope. They can't do none of that.
nothing.
Hopscotch.
None of that.
Yeah.
They probably look at that like, what is this weird instrument that you're giving me? Like,
Yeah,
what is the
yeah.
drum
Yeah, we do that. That's why in camp, I'm like, y'all outside all day. Y'all outside. Y'all doing fitness stuff. We teaching y'all the double dutch. We teaching y'all to swim. We teaching y'all our kids
Yes.
all of that.
I bet
Yes.
you that. Now, do they complain about having to do all that?
Oh, yes, they do, honey. And the parents be coming up there like, my kid said that they can't run. They gonna run today.
Right.
Over there, take a listen. I'll be playing with these kids.
Wow.
But that's what they need, though.
Right.
Oh, wow.
A lazy child
Fitness
makes a lazy adult.
twice a week, Ryan Harris. So when Ryan come in, boy, they be in tears that first couple of weeks, boy.
Oh yeah, I bet he work them on out.
Woo,
Yeah.
baby, he work all of us out. We all be crying.
Oh. Not the adults crying with the kids. He
Woo,
just
we
gotta
be
work
there
on
like, baby.
Oh,
great.
Lord.
But they'll definitely appreciate all of this in the end. It's
Yeah.
definitely, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna appreciate all of this.
Yeah.
What you're doing. That's wonderful for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do kids get in it? How do kids get in your camp?
We pretty much start putting out stuff right around now, May. One of the things that we do though with our kids is we service a lot of low income apartments. I have a partner that I partnered up with that own H.O.O.D apartment complexes. So like the Meadowlark, Pinewood Gardens, Eagle Ridge Apartments, Bancroft Apartments. So all the ones with the kids. So the parents don't pay for it. We pretty much go and pick up all of our babies from the apartment complexes, bring them to our campsite, and pretty much keep them for 8 weeks out the summer. And we've been
That's
doing
awesome.
that
Great.
2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
great.
dope. That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
dope. And that's what they
Yeah.
need, man. Shout out to you. You're just a wonderful, wonderful lady. This has been
Right.
like a wonderful
Right.
experience. Like
I'm so glad we had
Yeah.
she is definitely a hoodie for
Uh,
a fact
For
in the
sure.
community.
you. Definitely.
For
a hoodie.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
like I
definitely a hoodie in the
y'all
community.
stay tuned for our we pretty much are doing a docu-series right now called Beyond the System. The Beyond the System is pretty much going to be a collaborative voice of individuals who've either been in the foster care system or dealt with the foster care system somehow, whether you lost your child to foster care system, whether you worked in foster care, like caseworker, teachers. We have a whole collaboration of voices. And even when people like, Shondale, you just need to get over your past. I tell people it ain't gonna never be my past because it's right now, currently what I'm dealing with seeing
Right.
age girls still come to my building pregnant by a foster father, or things that's being covered up, or losing a baby. So this docu-series Beyond the System is going to be one that's going to change a whole lot of lives and really do a lot of healing in this community.
I look forward to that. I look forward to
Yes,
that.
I
Yes.
do.
Yeah,
I
you
have
look
so
bomb.
enjoyed our time with you. You are
Yes,
really a
absolutely.
dope person.
And
Thank
make
you for sharing your story.
sure you shout out your platforms, all your platforms, and how
Yeah.
people can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So if anybody want to be on the docu-series on the Serendipity Community Care website, there is a link on there for the Beyond the System. I'm asking people if they could donate. Any amount will help us to get this film out. And they can go on my website if they want to book to get their cards or any type of consultation, therapy, anything that they need. And then if you want to get your child in the Mustard Seed Foundation or make a referral to the Mustard Seed Foundation, we have a website, themustardseedfoundation.org. But we on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. We're on Instagram. So you can find me on all the platforms and connect with me. You know what I mean? I'm here.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Make sure
Yeah.
y'all connect with her, check her out, and go to her page. And this has been
Yeah.
truly amazing. I thank you
Yeah.
for telling us your story. I'm
Yeah.
so happy.
I'll definitely be down to your shop to get my medical card renewed.
Please.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
happy, you know what I'm saying, you didn't let that turn you into a negative person. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The fact that you can still smile and walk
Yes.
around in this world is definitely a blessing. You know what I'm
God,
saying, to see.
thank y'all.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. But we gonna get on up out of here. And
Bye,
this has been another episode of
guys.
Hood Talk Podcast.